Yep, it's September. And just like how the song goes, we want to remember more. So it's Charmam Talks number 9 on being forgetful. Does it really make you question that sometimes you're just so forgetful? It doesn't really matter how old you are. Like when you're in your 20s or now in your 50s, it simply is. You just have a hard time remembering things. Call me old-fashioned, but there are tricks and tools for this, right? You have your post-its. You put it all over the place so you to remind you of every single thing on the list that you have to do. Or on the desktop, you have stickies, or you have Alexa, or you have Siri scheduling things. You have your alarm on your phone, and so on and so forth. But eventually, I looked through and listened to experts, and they said, there are a lot of memory problems that are actually normal. It's totally normal. So let's start with number 1, and it's called transience. It's all about a tendency to forget facts or specific events over time. Usually your brain stores this with an expiration date when you actually need it. But when you're done with it, you've used this up, it automatically fades away. The other kind would be absent-mindedness. This is totally normal. When someone is telling you something, maybe you're preoccupied with something else. So you're thinking of something else. So it doesn't sink in. And therefore, you're absent-minded and you don't totally forget about this. Another one would be blocking. And blocking sometimes is, when you get into this situation where you're asked a question and the answer is almost at the tip of your tongue, and somehow you get a mental block. You can't seem to remember that particular word or answer. It just happens. The brain blocks it out. Or let's say misattribution, for example. It occurs when you remember something accurately, but just a part of it, not the whole thing. Little details only. But the exact event where it happened, no, you don't see the whole picture. So little things about memories is actually normal. It changes the way we remember things. But with all this, we now know that it's perfectly normal how our memory works and how we forget things. There was this beautiful quote from the great Confucius when he said, "Tell me and I will forget. Show me, I might remember. But involve me and I will understand." I guess when I heard that line for the first time, I said, now I have to truly see the wisdom. Because when you say, tell me, it's all words. I tell my daughters to fix their beds, to clean up their rooms. It just goes here and goes out. It's telling. Telling can sometimes fade with the wind, especially if the person you're telling it to, or to me, I'm not in the condition to be listening to you, or it's not relevant to me at the moment. When you say, show me, that's a step further because it's visual. For me, it's very sensory. When you show me, it could be a nice picture, colors. It could be very sensory in a way. It can be sound. It could be a dog barking, a baby crying, or it can be a scent or the beautiful smell of bread baking in the kitchen. So for me, that's very important for you to remember. But the last one that he said is to involve you so you will understand. It's a really, really notch higher. It helps your memory because you are involved physically and mentally into an activity. I remember when I was in college, I was helping a classmate get over harassment because and I needed to act on it and gather 100 signatures, for example, to kick a teacher out. Or let's say the first time I bumped another car when I was driving. Little things like this, I will not forget. I was so involved in it and I understood the very moment I was in what I needed to do, what I had to think and act on at the very moment, and therefore it becomes so unforgettable. But in the end, I think the brain has a wise way of making us forget naturally. Forgetting pain, toxicity, stress, or stress triggers, that doesn't really help us in any way to be being remembering that all the time. So it's sort of like cleanses our thoughts and naturally frees us, gives us the freedom to forget these things. And in that sense, saying goes, you survive more by actually forgetting.